Buy a house with a meme coin? Are you serious? That was the incredulous question echoing through countless online forums when people first glanced at what many were calling the biggest surprise in digital asset history. And yes, it all revolves around a mysterious yet wildly popular currency called SPX6900. Today, we are going to peel back the curtain and see if these rumors of mind-boggling returns are just tall tales spun in a frenzy of internet hype, or if there really is something extraordinary going on with this Ethereum-based phenomenon. How could a coin named after the S&P 500 become a top contender in the realm of digital assets? And why are some voices whispering it might be yet another blink-and-you-miss-it craze in the crypto space? In this deep dive, we are going to explore these questions and more as we roam across the electrifying territory of meme coin mania. But first, let us talk about the main conflict that has so many people hooked. The track record for SPX 6900, measured over the last year, is commanding enough to make even the boldest risk-taker sit up and pay attention. We are talking about a steep climb that outpaced not only many of its crypto peers, but also dwarfed the average returns from the traditional equity market. Picture the S&P 500, a venerable benchmark of stock performance, churning out its predictable growth of around 10 to 15% per year, year after year. Now, imagine something else flying so high in comparison that the conventional stock market's gains look like a trickle of water next to a gushing waterfall. That is precisely what SPX 6900 did, or so the data suggests, over a fairly modest stretch of time. And that is merely scratching the surface of today's story. In this show, we are going to plunge headfirst into the strange world of SPX 6900. We will explore its birth on the Ethereum blockchain, discuss the reasons it managed to balloon in popularity so quickly, and examine whether that growth is truly sustainable in the long run. We are also going to hunt down the reasons why meme coins command such extraordinary loyalty from their devotees and such skepticism, if not outright scorn, from traditional investing legends like Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. By the end of this journey, you might find yourself rethinking everything you thought you knew about digital currencies. Or you might just roll your eyes and say, another overhyped rocket ride doomed to crash. So, let us set the stage. SPX 6900 has soared by roughly 23% from late May to late June, after a prior jump of over 74.6% in a mere 15-day window. That alone sounds outlandish, but the real jaw-dropper emerges if you zoom out further. Reportedly, if someone had placed a small nest egg into SPX 6900 exactly 1 year ago, they could have reaped returns in the realm of thousands upon thousands of percent. We are talking about sums that could transform an average individual's bankroll into something that might buy a modest home. That is one reason why so many eyes are glued to this coin. Yet, the thrilling question remains, how does a parody coin, named after the S&P 500, vanish skyrocketing sums out of thin air? And does such performance hold any water beyond a single, if exhilarating, bull run? In moments like these, everyone wants to know if we are witnessing something that deserves mainstream respect or just another fleeting mania. Now, for the big highlights we will cover. First, the sizzling narrative of SPX 6900's recent performance, culminating in its overshadowing of not only standard stock market returns, but also the coin that started it all, Bitcoin. Second, the nature of meme coins themselves and why they captivate so many risk-tolerant fans, even as sober investment gurus wag their fingers disapprovingly from the sidelines. Third, the broader macroeconomic background that turned political in the United States, fueling an appetite for alternative investments as consumers grew wary about the erosion of the dollar's purchasing power. And finally, we will consider the future. Does SPX 6900 have true staying power, or will it disappear as quickly as it arrived? Let us pull back and think about the bigger picture for a moment. Back in the day, meme coins were primarily jokes, playful experiments on blockchains like Ethereum and later on other networks. Then some of them, especially dog-themed coins, made a real statement. People saw Dogecoin shuttle millionaires into the spotlight during a bullish crypto cycle. Then came Shiba Inu with even bigger hype. And after that, the mania continued with wave after wave of comedic alternatives. Nobody knew if these tokens were destined to topple conventional logic, or if they were ephemeral illusions built on comedic branding and winking internet culture. Fast forward to today. And we have SPX6900, which dares to combine the venerable acronym of the S and P500 with a cheeky code reminiscent of online humor. Most onlookers initially gave it a raised eyebrow. Then the speculation started, overshadowing many other new coin on the block stories. Analysts love to talk about the rally that happened when SPX6900 soared to a price that gave it a truly staggering annualized rate of return. Some see it as a blatant sign of crypto degeneracy, a flamboyant case of gambler's euphoria. Others interpret it in a more subtle way. The world is craving new ways to park capital, and an unstoppable wave of younger, tech-savvy investors want to place their faith in novel digital instruments rather than old-school indexes. Even if the coin has no real brand behind it, beyond a comedic spin and a desire to replicate or mock the venerable S and P 500. According to supporters, the coin's unstoppable momentum is a sign of a rising new order in finance, one in which communities and viral energy can rival or surpass stodgy old fundamentals. Before we go any further in praising SPX 6900's sizzling track record, let us temper the mood with a grain of caution. We should not forget that this coin saw a noticeable sell-off from a peak in early June, losing more than 1/4 of its value in the span of slightly over 1 week. But then it popped right back after a decisive wave of buyers rushed in. The result? An enthusiastic group of holders claiming that the coin has proven itself in the face of pressure. Others remain wary, pointing out that short-term rebounds can sometimes serve as exit points for whales who sense a future downswing looming. Now, you might be thinking, where is the real substance behind SPX 6900 if it is just a meme coin? Is it just a winking reference to a major stock index, or does it have actual technology or utility behind it? Fact is, many meme coins do not bother with sophisticated technology on top of the base blockchain. They ride on community hype, creative marketing, cross-chain compatibility, or outlandish personalities promoting them on social media. At times, the mania around them seems impossible to explain, short of recognizing that humans are often motivated by a thrill of gambling, as well as a quest to beat out stifling inflation rates in the real economy. Economically, we are living through a fascinating moment in the United States. The tumultuous era of the pandemic and its aftermath saw increases in the money supply, a heightened sense of inflation, and dissatisfaction with conventional forms of saving. Ordinary people felt that the yields on their savings accounts or certificates of deposit were failing to keep pace with everyday cost of living increases, such as rising housing and grocery prices. As a result, many turned to the world of crypto, crossing their fingers that there lay a better shot at beating inflation. And that is how coins like SPX 6900 made a name for themselves. Whether you consider yourself a crypto enthusiast or a skeptic, it is hard to ignore that some individuals saw eye-watering gains. Yes, behind every success story is a story of risk, but for those who timed the market precisely, the results could hardly have been more thrilling. We are talking about turning a purchase of $1,000 worth of SPX 6900 into sums that exceed $100,000 in less than 1 year. That is enough to make even the most rational among us perk up and wonder, is that for real? Now, a quick favor to you, dear listener. If you find this revelation about how a mere $1,000 could multiply so dramatically intriguing, this might be just the moment to tap that like button and let us know you want more stories unearthing these jaw-dropping digital tales. That little gesture always helps keep the conversation flowing. Let us plunge deeper into the elephant in the room. Is this sustainable? The hallmark of cryptomania has always been volatility. One day, a digital coin is surging so fast everyone calls it unstoppable. Suddenly, the price can plummet by half, leaving every new buyer shell-shocked. That feast or famine dynamic is precisely what the old guard investors cannot stand. Charlie Munger, for example, would likely roll his eyes at the idea of naming your coin after the S&P 500 and hoping people would see it as more than a silly ploy to attract attention. Warren Buffett, famously known as the Oracle of Omaha, might throw up his hands and say, "This is just speculation, not investing." Indeed, in the eyes of these men, and many who follow them, cryptocurrencies amount to little more than digital gambling on intangible assets whose fundamental value is questionable. But there is a segment of the population that begs to differ. These are the folks who remember how many doubted Bitcoin back in the day, when it was trading for just a few dollars or even cents. They recall the skeptics who said it would fail. Yet, Over the years, Bitcoin soared to 5 figures and minted countless millionaires. From this vantage point, they claim that the world of crypto is an unstoppable cosmic shift in how people store value. Innovations happen quickly, and communities rally around new coins with inimitable creativity and zeal. The dreaded question is always the same: which coins will last, and which are little more than disposable experiments? As for SPX6900, it managed to carve out a space in the conversation by aligning itself with a big name. The S&P 500 is the quintessential measure of how the United States stock market is performing overall. Tying that name to an Ethereum token is an obvious attempt to draw attention from conventional finance circles, even if ironically. Then factor in the comedic flair of the numbers 6900, and you get a magnet for internet chatter. People cannot resist winking references, particularly in a space already prone to irreverent humor. Yet, if all that is behind SPX 6900 is a funny branding trick, how do we explain real capital flowing in? The short answer might be that we live in an era ripe for speculation. After a period of unprecedented stimulus programs during the pandemic years, significant amounts of money swirled into various corners of the economy. Stocks soared, housing prices went up, and crypto followed suit. Some of this was fueled by the frustration people felt when they witnessed dollar inflation eat into their savings. If you are not going to earn much buying bonds or letting your money sit in a bank, you might take a chance on a fast-climbing digital coin, and the rest, as they say, is history. But where might SPX 6900 go from here? One of the biggest arguments from the bulls is that new capital keeps flooding into these so-called beta plays, all because major coins like Bitcoin have matured to such an extent that their potential for sky-high returns is less dramatic than it was a decade ago. Investors who crave fast, life-changing growth want something with a lower market cap, so they can see bigger multiples on their initial investments. Meme coins, by their very nature, become perfect rallying points. A tweet, a TikTok video, or a sudden mention on a public figure's feed can cause an avalanche of new buyers to pile in, unaware of any underlying fundamentals or risk factors. On the flip side, skeptics warn that with so many new tokens floating around, the chance of picking the next big winner is extremely slim. For every coin that climbs up the ladder, there might be hundreds that vanish in a blink and never recover. During bear markets, the hype often cools, and meme coins can slump mightily, leaving only the most dedicated holders. In that sense, SPX 6900 presents a classic question. Has it built enough brand recognition and community staying power to remain relevant? Or is it tempting fate by boasting of massive annualized gains that will prove ephemeral? Now, let us ask another crucial question. Why name it SPX 6900 if it does not track the S&P 500 or hold actual equity in the top 500 publicly listed companies? Some fans argue it is a satirical nod to a stock market that rarely delivers the outsized returns people crave. Meanwhile, ironically, this new coin soared by leaps and bounds that made typical index fund gains look like pennies on the dollar. The puzzle here is whether that comedic premise has enough longevity to maintain interest once the novelty wears off. Interestingly, we are hearing whispers that you might soon be able to purchase a home with SPX 6900 if some forward-thinking real estate broker decides to accept it. Whether that proves to be a marketing stunt or a genuine effort to adopt the coin for real-world transactions remains to be seen. But it fuels the conversation around crypto's push into tangibility. After all, Bitcoin overcame enormous skepticism about its ability to be used in actual purchases. Over the years, more merchants have begun accepting Bitcoin. If SPX 6900 or any meme coin can replicate that path, it could create a ripple effect of recognition in the mainstream press. Of course, many disclaimers abound. Gains of a few thousand% seldom come without risk. The entire coin economy for SPX 6900 remains younger than some houseplants. That is not an insult. It is simply a reminder that the track record is short. The bigger question is not whether a few lucky holders made epic returns, but whether that momentum can last across multiple market cycles. Some watchers note that the coin exhibited a substantial pullback when it reached new highs, confirming that gravity, or profit-taking, still exists. Yet the community remains active on social media, creating memes, forging alliances, and proclaiming that this coin is different. Meanwhile, Bigger coins like Ethereum and Bitcoin have matured into behemoths compared to the early days. Their annual percentage gains may no longer stretch 4 digits very often, so new arrivals like SPX6900 become magnets for speculators. Deep down, this phenomenon is about more than just money. It speaks to an undercurrent of dissatisfaction with legacy finance, corporate stock culture, and a sense that normal individuals missed out on the internet's earliest gold rushes. There is also a political dimension to the SPX 6900 story. The 2024 election in the United States ushered in leadership that signified, among other things, a major shift in how the average person interacts with economic policies. The pandemic years under the previous administration included trillions of dollars in stimulus spending, which arguably contributed to inflation. Certain segments of the population turned to digital currencies to preserve the value of their savings. Indeed, the newly minted supporters of SPX 6900 see it as an extension of that same defiance of inflation, an alternative form of money that might yield returns far beyond the standard model. Now, if you are getting a rush from this saga and want to keep up with the latest deep dives into meme coin mania, you might consider subscribing right now so you do not miss our next walkthrough in the chaotic corridors of crypto imagination. Let us circle back to the key question. Does the possibility of massive upside outweigh the risk of a catastrophic crash? Every new wave in crypto, from the earliest days of Bitcoin speculation to the mania for decentralized finance protocols, has been marked by extreme peaks and troughs. If you happen to sell at the right time, you can walk away with fortunes. If you do not, you might find your wallet full of digital tokens that have lost most of their appeal. The community behind SPX 6900 acknowledges that risk, but it is precisely the adrenaline roller coaster that draws them in. Proponents of the coin will point out that it proved it can rebound. After the initial correction from its all-time high, it found a strong level of support and soared again by more than 20%, suggesting that even a substantial chunk of selling pressure did not destroy the coin's overall momentum. That leads them to believe that more expansions are on the horizon, especially if the adoption narrative grows, or if a new wave of excitement surges through the crypto space as a whole. Skeptics, in contrast, note that altcoin mania often runs in cycles, spurred on by hype, marketing campaigns, and short bursts of speculation. It can just as suddenly dissipate, leaving behind a handful of stunned buyers who joined at the peak. They caution that it is unwise to measure a coin's viability purely by a 12-month track record. Many other meme coins have gone through similar arcs, from dizzying highs to near total extinction. The difference here might be the coin's cunning embrace of that iconic S&P 500 reference, combined with a wry sense of humor that appeals to the rebellious mindset of crypto champions. Interestingly, some supporters say SPX 6900 has a sort of kryptonite effect on naysayers. The more it rises, the more people want to join, fueling further growth. Meanwhile, those who decry it as pure speculation ironically stoke the publicity machine. Headlines pronouncing another unstoppable meme coin inadvertently advertise it to even more potential buyers, magnifying the herd effect. If that cycle continues, at least for the medium term, the "this is an absolute joke" argument can actually spur more interest and ironically sustain the coin's flight. On the other hand, if we look at the broader crypto economy, we see a pattern that the older generation of coins, like Bitcoin and Ethereum, have stabilized to some degree and do not produce the same mind-blowing leaps they once did. This leaves room for altcoins, including meme projects, to present themselves as the next frontier. That is why new digital tokens continue to emerge, brandishing their unique marketing angles, comedic potential, or rebellious flair. They beckon investors who yearn to catch the wave of another 1,000% rocket to the moon. The final piece of the puzzle might be this. Are developers behind SPX 6900 rolling out new features or expansions that will anchor it more firmly in the ecosystem? Or is it purely a comedic asset? Sometimes, the difference between fleeting mania and a long-lasting presence hinges on whether the team and community keep building. While many meme coins remain superficial, some evolve a serious side, forging alliances, encouraging staking or yield farming, or building out an entire culture that transcends the initial punchline. It remains to be seen which side of that fork SPX 6900 will take. Yet the coin's supporters will remind any doubter that we live in a tumultuous financial world, where standard investments yield moderate returns at best. Many people hunger for the big play, something that can slingshot them from ordinary wage earner to self-styled investor with new opportunities. In that environment, a novel altcoin with a comedic twist is not so implausible as an investment magnet. What we have witnessed over the last year, from the vantage point of the broader crypto markets, is that smaller tokens can quickly hatch from obscurity and become powerful draws on trading platforms, especially when they circle around irreverent memes or culturally resonant references. SPX6900, with its impressionistic wink at the S&P 500, is no exception. For those who love to chase hype, the coin is a dream come true. It soared by thousands of percent over 12 months, netting some bold individuals the kind of money that can transform their lives. But for every success story, there is the lingering possibility that the music could stop. Where that leads us is part of the ongoing drama in the broader digital currency sphere. This entire phenomenon underscores just how hungry the global market is for fresh ways to store capital and, above all, to grow it at a rate that crushes mainstream inflation. With interest rates in a state of flux, many find themselves venturing farther and farther from traditional investments to get a meaningful return. Whether that is prudent or reckless depends on one's perspective and tolerance for risk. But it is undeniable that the crypto realm has opened the gates to an unprecedented scale of possible gains. One can see the temptation. Why settle for a 5 or 6% yield in the conventional market if you can aim for hundreds or even thousands of percent in the altcoin universe? Of course, every opportunity for staggering gains in that domain also carries with it an unwritten warning label: approach with caution. Yet even that warning cannot dampen the spirits of believers who see each coin as a stepping stone to revolutionizing finance itself. SPX6900, if we are to believe the hype, is not merely a random coin. It is a statement that the power of branding, humor, and defiance can shape markets in ways that defy most rational models. Perhaps it is a reward for those who take a leap of faith, or perhaps it is a ticking time bomb waiting to go off. So, remember the surge, the hype, and the unstoppable energy that seems to swirl around every mention of SPX6900. It is likely that, as the months roll on, the coin's story will produce even more plot twists. Will it keep outrunning the seemingly humble returns of conventional stock indexes, or will it concede that the initial rockets of growth cannot be sustained? Is it an expression of a deeper social movement within the crypto community, or is it mainly a comedic fling that will fade? We can only watch the unfolding drama. Until then, keep your eyes open, your curiosity burning, and your sense of humor intact. Because sometimes it is the strangest phenomena that end up reshaping the world of finance. And if you found this entire look at SPX6900 entertaining and want to stay tuned for more intriguing journeys into the corners of the financial universe, consider sharing this deep dive with friends and fellow enthusiasts who might want to break from the everyday humdrum of classic investment advice. No matter which side of the meme coin debate you land on, it is an adventure that is still writing its story. How it all ends is anyone's guess, because that is the legacy of meme coins. They thrive on unpredictability, communal frenzy, and occasionally on real-world applications that surprise everyone. Perhaps SPX6900 will continue to stun observers by rewriting the expectations of what altcoins can do, or perhaps it will crumble, serving as a cautionary tale about chasing outsized gains. In any case, the next chapter beckons, and we will be there to see it unfold. Every twist and turn along the way,